So Trump has removed the U.S. troops from a small area of northern Syria. And look, while I'm no fan of Trump, watching our corporate media over the past 2 weeks suddenly care about innocent civilians, it's shocking. It's shocking on a level I haven't seen since, I gotta go to when I was 10 years old. My hamster named Bob, who lived alone in his cage since we got him 2 weeks earlier, he gave birth to 9 baby hamsters. True story. That's how shocking it is. Anyway, mainstream media has been outraged by Turkey's attack on the Kurds in Syria.
This video, obtained by ABC News, appears to show the fury of the Turkish attack on the border town of Tel Aviv.
A border town bombarded by Turkey's military. This video right here appearing to show Turkey's military bombing Kurd civilians in a Syrian border town. The Kurds, who fought alongside the U.S. against ISIS.
And it's not just the media. Our moral lodestar herself, Hillary Clinton, said the scene of Turkey invading Syria was a sickening horror. Hillary, what would we do without you? For comic relief. But it turns out through this whole Turkish invasion thing, there's something your corporate media is not telling you. Imagine my surprise! Max Blumenthal at the Gray Zone reported the U.S. has backed 21 of the 28 crazy militias leading Turkey's brutal invasion of northern Syria. That's right, we birthed the vast majority of these gruesome killers, much like a male lonely hamster. Sometimes births baby hamsters when he's bored. Anyway, according to a research paper published this October by the pro-government Turkish think tank SETA, out of the 28 factions in the Turkish mercenary force, 21 were previously supported by the United States, 3 of them via the Pentagon's program to combat Daesh, aka ISIS. 18 of these factions were supplied by the CIA via the MOM Operations Room in Turkey, a joint intelligence operation room of the Friends of Syria to support the armed opposition. 14 factions of the 28 were also recipients of the U.S.-supplied TOW anti-tank guided missiles. So these cold-hearted killers that we've been flipping out about, all these bloodthirsty murderers, were trained and armed by us. Why, in God's name, am I not surprised? And our mountain of shit mainstream media, trademark, doesn't think this fact might be important? This is like freaking out that someone is grabbing your dick without consent, and yet you're not mentioning that it's your own hand. Officer, I found the culprit. I found him. The Gray Zone continued. Many of the fighters were former members of the Free Syrian Army, the force once armed by the CIA and Pentagon and branded as moderate rebels. You see, moderate rebels are a myth that we've been sold by our U.S. propaganda machine. Moderate rebels, they go in the same file as zero-calorie donuts and free-loving, empathetic hedge fund managers. And intellectual, thought-provoking Donald Trump statements as well. None of those exist, especially the hedge fund. Our neocons and neoliberals, along with a servile corporate media, have spent years trying to convince us of fairy tales in Syria. John McCain even went over there and met with the moderate rebels and took photos with Salim Idris, who is now the defense minister of Syria's Turkish-backed interim government. Ah, John McCain. Isn't it nice to see that even after he's passed on, his bloodthirsty ways continue? Here's more from Blumenthal. Virtually the entire apparatus of anti-Assad insurgents armed and equipped under the Obama administration has been repurposed by the Turkish military to serve as the spearhead of its brutal invasion of northern Syria. So corporate mainstream media, in their frenzy of concern for the Kurds in Syria, is not telling us that the U.S. was using the Kurds all along to try to take over parts of Syria, not mentioning that the U.S. is there as part of an illegal invasion of the country, not telling us that the U.S. has turned our backs on the Kurds before and left them to be murdered and imprisoned, and not telling us that the ruthless killers Turkey is sending in were armed and trained by the United States. That's a lot of shit to not tell us. That's like, by the way, now that you're 35, I want to let you know your uncle is your father. And your mother is your pet iguana. Oh, and the ABC news footage showing Turkey bombing and shooting at the Kurds. Let's see, there it is.
This video
Well,
by ABC News
that does look strikingly similar to this footage of a Kentucky gun show. I think the similarity is due to the fact that the Syrian footage is a Kentucky gun show. It might have been a tip-off that in an actual battle, it's unusual to fire at things that are constantly exploding in ridiculous fireballs like the set of Fast and Furious. Unless you're bombing the same area you're fighting in, which seems ill-advised. ABC News has since taken down the video and apologized for accidentally showing us all a video of rednecks in Kentucky and passing it off as Turkish fighters in Syria. Accidentally? You know how hard it would be to do that accidentally? It would be like accidentally sending a nude photo to your colleague and then going, sorry, I thought that was my kid's drawing of a puppy dog. Anyway, just know that until you hear your media reporting on the fact that we armed and trained most of the fucking insane militias on the border of Syria, you are not getting the real news. You're getting a pile of shit that has been sculpted into the word news. Coming to you from Washington, D.C., the belly of the beast, this is Redacted tonight.